Our next session is a lecture by Dr. Monali Sahu, Case-Based Management of UTI. I would like to request Dr. Arun Janbandhu and Dr. Nikhil Balanki sir as chairperson.
So I welcome you all back, and I'm going to start with 4 clinical scenarios. First one is a 22-year-old female presents with 3 days history of dysuria, frequency and urgency, no history of vaginal discharge or comorbidities. How to proceed? You want to do ultrasound abdomen, you want to do urine culture, you want to give a short course of antibiotics, or all of above? Answers please. Okay, I'll go to the next question. 35-year-old male who is post spinal cord injury, has a Foley's catheter indwelling, and on routine visit, you notice that there is a turbid urine. Urine analysis shows 25 to 30 pustules. He does not have flank pain or fever. What next? Do you want to order urine culture, or you want to start basic antibiotics or broad spectrum antibiotics, or you want to do nothing? Next question is, we have a young female, 26-year-old, who is in first trimester of pregnancy, and urine analysis shows 12 to 14 pustules per high power field. There is no fever, abdominal pain or nausea. How to proceed? Which antibiotic you want to give? Leoflox, Septran or Cephalexin, or you don't want to give any antibiotic? So these are the 4, and the last one, 4th clinical scenario that I want to put forward. 45-year-old male who is long-standing diabetic. He develops acute pyelonephritis. He started on culture appropriate antibiotics, and there is clinical deterioration. How do you proceed? You want to send blood culture, you want to repeat urine culture, you want to do urological investigation, or you want to do all 3. So these are the 4 clinical scenarios I want you to think over. So I'll start with my topic. Now, urinary tract infections are most common bacterial infections and a major health problem worldwide. The global data, if we will see, global UTI cases have risen more than twice in last 3 decades. And so also the rates of global death because of UTI. They have risen even more than twice or 2.5 times. There is emergence of resistance in the microorganisms, there is emergence of virulence factors, and broad spectrum antibiotics affecting our microbiota. Epidemiologically, UTI is a disease of females predominantly. Almost 40% of female experience UTI once in lifetime. And this is also associated with major mental health issues. Now, urinary tract by itself has host defense mechanisms naturally provided. This includes acidic pH that urine has, the high osmolality that it has, the mechanical flushing of the urine flow. These are all naturally provided antimicrobial activities that urine has. In addition, there is mucosal immunity which is imparted by urothelium, which secretes chemokines, cytokines. There is acidic vaginal pH. These all help in defending urinary tract infection. However, we have certain factors. To name a few, pregnant status, use of improper personal hygiene, you can say, or the presence of chronic health status conditions, presence of Foley's catheter, urinary tract abnormalities, either structural or functional, to name a few, are risk factors for urinary tract infection. Now, this is the distribution of urinary isolates, and this is our local data. So this is of last 1 year from AIIMS Nagpur, from Department of Microbiology, and from the inception of MIDAS, that is last 7-8 months data that I have collected. And we can see that the majority of organisms responsible for urinary tract infection are E. coli, followed by Klebsiella pneumoniae, and then to some extent Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Enterococci, Acinetobacter, and sometimes Candida. So let us look at the sensitivity pattern that we have seen locally. A very disturbing figure, we can see that the sensitivity of all the commonly used organisms as well as broad spectrum antibiotics is extremely low, 20 to 30% sensitivity. which means majority of antibiotics are not working, and same about resistance pattern. For majority basic antibiotics, as we call, the resistance is 80 to 90%, and for others it is somewhere around 50%. So a very high level of resistance in UTI causing organisms. Now, in addition, there are virulence factors that these organisms have, like Escherichia coli. They have pili for adhesion, for climbing the urinary tract. They can go intracellularly, stay there form intracellular colonies, and they can remain there. And whenever they get a chance, they can come out, they can mature and go to kidney epithelium, or they can go to systemic circulation. Another problem is associated with catheters. Now, whenever UTI is associated with catheter, there is a tendency to have a biofilm. Now, organisms like Proteus mirabilis, which is a urease producing organism, it crystallizes urine. And with those crystals, it can form a biofilm. Enterococcus faecalis can produce fibrinogen from epithelium, and these with organisms, they form a biofilm, stay inside, and the antibiotics don't attack, and they survive very nicely inside the biofilm. One important thing I want to emphasize is that not all unusual cloudiness, odor imparted to urine is because of UTI. This we must understand. It can be because of various systemic illnesses, can be because of medications, and even certain food that provides different odor or unusual odor to the urine. Now, the concept of UTI includes, now whenever urinary tract infection occurs, there is plethora of phenotypes that happen depending upon the place the urinary tract is affected, from cystitis, pyelonephritis, or it can be catheter associated, and it can go for urosepsis. We will just quickly go through one by one. And one thing I want to emphasize about asymptomatic bacteriuria. Asymptomatic bacteriuria by definition is growth of bacteria, presence of pus cells, but person does not have any symptoms. No lower urinary tract symptoms, and there is some abnormality, some pus cells seen in the urine analysis. So what do we do? Now, in healthy individuals, in otherwise indicated situations, we don't want to treat asymptomatic bacteriuria, and the reason is that if we treat asymptomatic bacteriuria, the person having a symptomatic UTI, the chances to have him a UTI are much more. So it is better to treat it as commensal infection and don't treat ABU, except in certain well-defined situations. So treatment is not beneficial in this category. On the contrary, it is harmful, except when you are planning any urological intervention or if the lady is pregnant. These are the only two indications for asymptomatic bacteriuria to be treated. Coming to uncomplicated cystitis, it can be acute, sporadic, or recurrent. A female who is not pregnant, no comorbidities, no vaginal discharge. It is just a simple uncomplicated cystitis. We can do urine analysis. Diagnosis is clear-cut. We don't need cultures except if we are expecting or we are seeing any complications, or again, if it is not resolving, or pregnancy. A short course of antibiotics is sufficient to treat uncomplicated cystitis. Next is recurrent UTI. By definition, recurrent UTI is episodes of UTI happening, at least 2 episodes in 6 months or 3 episodes in 1 year. And whenever there is a recurrent UTI, it is important that we identify the factors. If it is a female who is young, premenopausal, look for the factors where there is association with sexual intercourse, or if there is a postmenopausal elderly woman, we should look for whether there is a cystocele, indwelling catheter, or atrophic vaginitis. Now, management of recurrent UTI needs some attention apart from antibiotics. So we should emphasize on behavioral modifications like increasing fluid intake or immediate postcoital urination, simple things. And then there are some more stronger evidence-based therapies like cranberry product and D-mannose, or use of continuous or postcoital antimicrobial prophylaxis. There are vaccines which are coming up, but they are short-acting. They don't work more than 3 months, and so the long-term efficacy is still awaited, and their immunogenicity for long time is still awaited. So for the time being, they are of no use in practical. Uncomplicated pyelonephritis is the next entity. Again, same, non-pregnant female, premenopausal, no urological abnormality, no comorbidities. So it is a clinical diagnosis. We can do urine culture. We can go for radiological investigation, treat uncomplicated pyelonephritis. You can treat with basic antibiotics, a short course, or more than short course, 7 to 10 days. If patient is a bit more sick, you may consider using further lines of therapies, and duration may be extended to 10 to 14 days. And then complicated UTI. As the name suggests, complicated UTI is a complicated urinary tract infection occurring in any person, female, pregnant female, any male. It's a complicated UTI. Host factors like diabetes status, any immunocompromised status, and then presence of foreign body or any kind of obstruction anywhere, immunosuppressive states, all these when associated with UTI, we define them as complicated UTI, and generally the bacterial spectrum here is larger, and it is more likely to be even resistant further. Complicated UTIs, we need systemic antibiotics on the majority of times. We should cover them with broad spectrum antibiotics, either with amoxicillin or second generation cephalosporin and aminoglycoside, or we can go for third generation cephalosporin. For fluoroquinolones, we should be careful, like the data I have shown. I don't say that it can be generalized because it is a short period data, but we are seeing a large fluoroquinolone resistance. Next is catheter-associated urinary tract infection. Person who is catheterized currently or last 48 hours suffers from UTI. High risk, definitely a prolonged catheterization, diabetic status, more prolonged hospitalization. Again here, the polymicrobial and multi-drug resistant organisms are expected. The colony forming unit here is 1,000 units. So this is what is important to remember. This is the flow chart, and important thing here is you have a person who has catheter, he develops fever. So you have to look for other causes of fever simultaneously. See urine analysis showing more than 10 per cell. See culture showing more than 1,000 colony forming unit. What next? Rule out blockage of catheter. See if you can flush, or you can do POCUS, point of care ultrasound, for the distended bladder. And if all these things are ruled out, no other evidence of infection, then the person probably has catheter associated urinary tract infection. So a catheterized person, please do not treat pyuria as an indicator of UTI. Don't consider odor to be a catheter-associated UTI. Treatment is same as complicated UTI. And catheterization duration, always we have to keep minimal whenever possible. And that one which I have shown is a hydrophilic catheter, which should be preferred because it causes minimal trauma. Hydrophilic is the one which gets inserted very easily because of the hydrophilic layer it has on the surface. Coming to urosepsis, a quick SOFA score is really advisable because a simple UTI can go into urosepsis in a very quick period of time. Quick SOFA score is respiration rate more than 22, systolic blood pressure less than 100, and altered mentation. So these three things we can very easily apply to our patient. If he has UTI and if he is deteriorating, then go for further studies like urine culture. We should do 2 sets of blood culture. Giving antibiotics in first hour of assumption of sepsis is extremely important. Do a source control if possible. If present, like abscess, drain it, and life support is important. Suggested antimicrobial therapy, heavier doses for a longer period are required till the patient recovers, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And if he has renal impairment, a renal dose adjustment is extremely important. That needs to be considered. Depending upon GFR, we have to adjust the doses of antibiotics. Last slide about pregnancy. Now there are 27 studies done in a systematic review and meta-analysis. They have taken into account more than more than 30,000 female patients who were pregnant, and they noticed that if pregnancy is associated with UTI, it has got a very bad prognosis for mother as well as child. So it is important that whenever a female gets UTI, we treat it. If she gets asymptomatic bacteriuria, we treat it. We screen pregnant females for asymptomatic bacteriuria regularly. Coming to the questions, first question was 22-year female, lower urinary tract symptoms, gets cystitis, short course of antibiotic is sufficient. Second question, catheterized person, he has asymptomatic bacteriuria, don't do anything. Third question was pregnant lady who is having asymptomatic bacteriuria, we want to treat with antibiotics which are safe in pregnancy, like cefalexin. Fourth question was a diabetic person who has acute pyelonephritis going for urosepsis. We have to be more aggressive in this case, do blood culture, urine culture and step up antibiotic, do urological investigations. Take home message, we are witnessing a waning of golden era of antibiotics. The uropathogens are more and more drug resistant and virulent. So appropriate patient education and behavior building is extremely essential. Emphasize on antimicrobial stewardship programs, and vaccines and newer therapies like small molecule inhibitors are still awaited. We don't have them. Thank you so much. I'm happy I have finished in time as Mukherjee sir was apprehensive.
Thank you, Monali, for a very comprehensive coverage of this very long topic indeed. So many things to be covered, and you have done it very well. If there are any questions in the audience which needs to be answered, we can have one or two.
Monali, the data which you have presented about the cultures from AIMS as well as MEDAS versus patients who have community-acquired urinary tract infection.
Yeah.
Should there be a difference?
There will be a difference, sir. Yeah.
So this data which you have shown,
Yeah.
probably these infections were more hospital-based infections. So they were pathogens which are basically resistant.
Definitely. Probably that is why we have seen a lot of resistance in those organisms, which is frightening.
Monali, your take on some prescriptions where you find fluoroconazole been prescribed for 2 to 4 weeks or nitrofurantoin been prescribed for 2 to 4 months. So what are those indications where we can continue, and how long and what dosage?
So that is a really relevant question. Now long-term antibiotics have been prescribed if there is a recurrent UTI and if the antibiotics, those antibiotics are susceptible. But we have to be really careful. It's not that we can just prescribe regular antibiotics for a long period, because for now we have nitrofurantoin which is showing some sensitivity preserved and least resistance. So thankfully it has not developed resistance so far, but as far as possible we should not use such long courses if it is not indicated.
And your take on antibiotics versus antiseptics?
Antiseptics actually, even in catheter associated UTI, they don't have any role as per the guidelines.
Thank
Madam,
you
any
very much.
role of
Thank you, sir.
alkalizer? Any role of alkalizers?
As I said, urine itself acts as an antibacterial because it has pH which is acidic, around 5. So alkalizer don't have any role. On the contrary, they should not be used. Unless patient has severe symptoms, you want to get relief, so once in a while, SOS basis, 5 ml Cytal, you can prescribe, but not 10 ml TDS for days together. That is a very wrong practice.
Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for Monali.
Thank you.
Excellent lecture. And
Thank you,
we hand
Monali,
it over
ma'am.
to the
Thank you,
please
sir.
take over.
Thank you, Monali ma'am. I request speaker and chairpersons to collect their mementos.